So we're delighted to be joined by former Shamrock Rovers player Chris Turner. Chris, how are you this evening?
Yeah, very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm very good. Just looking back, we're talking in the week that Shamrock Rovers are playing Flora Tallinn again, and you were very much instrumental in that game back in 2010.
When I first joined Rovers, it was in a very exciting time because Michael had come in and done really well in his first year, and then he was trying to add to that squad that he already had, just to try and close that gap with Bose, which he did, and the players that he brought in took to the ground running, because it's not an easy club to go into and hit the ground running with the fans, because the fans are demanding. They demand success. They don't let you take the foot off the gas for one second. So Michael got that right in his first year.
And then in terms of the title run in, it was, people think back to the defeat to Sporting Fingal, which was a really hard one to take, but actually you turned it around the following week, and then the game in Bray where you needed to match whatever Bows were doing. It was a real nervous, for a fan's point of view. I don't know what it was like as a player playing in that game. Yeah,
well, for a lot of us, that was our first league that we were going for, so we didn't really have the experience to have the know-how to get ourselves over the line. So the Fingal game was a massive blow to everybody, because we were so close to it. We could nearly touch it, but then obviously I missed a penalty in that game as well, which
I wasn't going to bring it up, Chris, but yeah.
That would have put us 2-0 up, I think, which would have probably got us over the line. But then it was a crazy, I think it was the last 10 minutes we conceded 2 goals. And we thought we've blown it, but luckily I think the game was Bose played Galway, and it was a crazy result up in Galway. Another bit of Sean Connor magic, one of my old managers, pulled it out of the bag for us, which gave us a lifeline to go to Bray on the last game. And if we got any sort of result, it was the league was in the bag.
And it was quite a crazy trophy presentation at the end when the final whistle went. Any Rovers fan that was in the ground was over that small wall in Bray and was in celebrating with you guys.
The whole pitch got invaded, and I think Pat Flynn split his head open with the cup. There's blood all down his head. It was crazy scenes, but an unbelievable time.
And earlier that season, you'd been involved in a very memorable European run, the win in Israel against Ben Yehuda, which was, instrumental in setting up a match against Juventus home and away. Like, I'm sure you look back at those games with fond memories.
Absolutely. I remember playing out in Israel, and it was just so hot and humid. You could hardly get a breath. And then we kept ourselves in the game for 70, 80 minutes. And then Tommy got the goal. Great swivel and great finish. And then it set up that glamour tie against Juventus.
Do you ever the game in Modern? Everyone always remembers the weather, and really, and any other day, I don't think it would have been played, but it made it even more memorable.
I think it made it probably a more even playing field playing in them sort of conditions. But even then, they still had the cuteness and the know-how to not try and dribble with the ball. They were chipping it over the puddles and running onto it. It was just a different gravy.
And did those, you played 4 European games that year. Did that give you confidence going into the next season, when the first game up was against Flora Tallinn, that unlike this year, the first leg was at home, and it was a very tight affair. Alan Manna saved a penalty, and about 2 minutes later, you got what turned out to be the winner. But were you kind of confident going into those games?
Yeah, you are more confident because you've got more experience, and it's a little bit more tactical. Whenever you're playing in Europe, you have to be a little bit more hard to beat to start with, and play your way into it. As I say, we were just more experienced, I think, know how to deal with the situation.
And it was a fine finish from 2 yards. They all count, and that was a really, really important goal. You were
2 yards,
at the right time.
22 yards.
That's how I. At the right time, though, yeah.
That's it. I made a late run into the box, and I think Twiggy was going for it at the front post and missed it, and I couldn't really miss it.
And it set up the game against Copenhagen in the National Stadium. I think they were they were a real step up. They played in the Champions League the previous couple of seasons, and I think it was 3-0 in aggregate between those two games.
Yeah, I actually missed the game out in Copenhagen. I think I was suspended. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Ranger, I can't remember. Probably suspended. So, yeah, so I only got to play in the home leg. But yeah, you're right. They were a level up from obviously Flora Tallinn. But again, it was just another brilliant experience, and I hit the bar early doors would have put us 1-0 up. And God knows what would have happened after that. They could have got spooked. They could have gone into another gear. But hindsight is a wonderful thing.
And it because of that defeat, you ended up dropping into the playoff of the Europa League, and Partizan Belgrade. The first leg was at home, and Gary McCabe got a really superb goal that night, a real individual goal, which got you back into the tie, having been 1-0 down.
Yeah, it was a great run. I think he even got a little nutmeg in there and a little toe poke finish. It was great goal to keep the tie alive, basically.
And I remember they seemed to be hanging on at the end of that game in Tallaght. Like, they started very strongly, but I think the goal really knocked the stuffing out of them, and you were unlucky maybe not to get a winner in the first leg.
Yeah, I can't really remember the chances after that. Did we have many?
Yeah, there was a couple late on. I think Gary McCabe scored at about, I think it was maybe a dozen minutes to go. So there was a couple. They seemed to be, I think they were happy enough with the draw to take back to Belgrade.
Yeah. They probably thought if they got us out there, they're on their home patch. But again, like a little bit like what I think Rovers have to do on Thursday night is just keep themselves in the game as long as they can, keep calm, because they done it against Slovan. Is that who the Slovan? They were 2-0 in that leg, and they ended up winning the game. So I think the first goal on Thursday night is really, really important. If they get that, it's game on. So just stay in the game as long as they can, and you never know what can happen.
And what was your belief? What was the belief in the dressing room going over for that second leg? Like, it was a pretty intense atmosphere. It was really it was a hot and humid night as well. But you guys stayed in the game, as you were saying.
Yeah, that was it. Just stay in the game as long as you can, and anything can happen. Just be hard to beat, and you're always going to get chances in a game of football. It's just about taking the chances, and luckily enough that night we did. Yeah,
Pat Sullivan got a very spectacular goal, probably as good as I've seen. I don't know if you've seen a better goal in the game you've been playing in.
Oh, it's coming out of the sky from 35 yards out, and he's hit it as sweet as he could hit it, and it's ended up in the back of the net. He's probably never hit one like that before, and never hit one like that again.
How difficult was it that night? You know, that match went into extra time. There was so much at stake. You must have been nearly out on your feet towards the end of extra time.
We were totally shot, but you're just running on pure excitement and adrenaline of what could possibly be, and then we ended up getting the penalty, and I don't know if anybody really wanted to hit the penalty and take that responsibility, but Stevie stepped up and was cool under pressure and put it in the net.
I think one of the things I know Michael O'Neill spoke about back then was, you have 11 who start the game, but it was a 14-man team. So the three subs that came on, the goal was set up from Kieran Kilduff came off the bench, pushed it into shot. Carl Shepherd got onto it. He came off the bench, and he said Stephen O'Donnell scored it. So I think that's probably Rovers on Thursday night, will be using their squad to the full extent. A little more extra subs these days compared with 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. But that just showed how strong our squad was back then. You had that sort of quality coming off the bench. And Rovers have it now in abundance. This all the way through the squad now. They've got quality. They've got goals in it. They've got defenders that want to defend. They've got quality all over it. So that's why I think they need to keep calm on Thursday night, because they can score at any time with the quality they have.
And we're speaking the week that it's 10 years to the week from that game in Belgrade. What was it like at the final whistle? And then there was the celebrations. I think there was a good night out in Belgrade that night as well.
There was straight after the game. I got pulled in for drug testing, so I was struggling to pee because I was so dehydrated from the extra time and the heat. So I missed probably a couple of hours of the celebrations. I think it was me and Richard Brush was doing the random drug test, so we missed the first part, but we made up for it whenever we got there in the end.
And what it did was it set up 6 games in Europa League and playing right through to December, and that's the prize that Rovers have on offer if they can overturn it this week. What was it, that being able to play in the Europa League, playing in big games, the likes of playing against Spurs? I'm sure it's something that ranks up really high when you look back on your career.
Well, it is. It is the best achievement that I've achieved in football then and since then, because we were the first people to do it, and that's something that we're proud of. I'm sure everybody's in the same boat. Well, as the way I feel, like it's just something that we're immensely proud of, that we were the first Irish club to do it. I know Dundalk have gone on to do it twice since and done really well, but we were the first to guide the way, if you like, and I think it's gave the whole league a lift since then. And the belief that we are good enough to get into the Europa League.
Yeah, because it's 3 times that Irish clubs have done in the last decade, but hopefully there's another Irish club that makes the group stages this week. Chris, listen, really appreciate your time this evening. Thanks very much for talking us through those memories.